All right, hello, welcome everybody to a special edition Monday afternoon update on Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners, the market, etc. Bitcoin had an insane weekend. We wanted to go through what Bitcoin's doing. We wanted to go through what the Bitcoin miners are doing. So, hello, George. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm excited.
There's some wild stuff going on with the price action on the Bitcoin miners today. Obviously, Bitcoin.
I tried to get Tom in last night. He wouldn't do it, just so you guys know.
We were going to do a live stream as it was approaching. What was it? When it was going to break 40,000.
Right.
Now it's at 41,700. I mean, this is insanity. It's insanity is what it is. It's unreasonable. If everybody could do us a favor and smash the like button, please. We have 20 likes. We always go for 100 likes. It helps the live stream out in real time, big time. So much appreciated. And thanks for joining us in the middle of a trading day here on a Monday. I know this is not our normal time and place, but this is insanity. There's a couple of specific Bitcoin miner stocks that are going wild today. There's some that, in my opinion, are performing, underperforming dramatically and pulled way back at the open. Things were in pre-market. It looked like the Bitcoin miners were going to have another day just to the moon, you know, to infinity, beyond, etc. But things simmered way down. And so first, let me go to the 1 day time frame.
Space. That was a conversation we had. We're talking about that one too.
So for those of you not familiar with the channel, this orange line is where Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin was when the equity markets closed on Friday. So that was the last trading day. So from that day until right now, Bitcoin's up almost 8%. So the Bitcoin miners in that, period should be up more than that. And that's what's been happening lately. Now, for a long period of time, that wasn't happening, but we've been getting that leverage we've been looking for. Now, I will show you guys what happened on Friday. Here, let me see if this is it. So this is Friday. So one of the, not problems. One of the things is Friday was a monumental update. You'll see Bitfarms up 16%, HUP up 19%, CleanSpark 22%, Marathon. Marathon was up 14%. They are now the largest market cap. They passed Riot. Riot was up almost 10%. Some of the small ones, Stronghold 23%, Mawson 32%, Any 28%. I mean, Friday was 100% green across the board and gigantic green numbers. So this morning's board looked like this prior to the market opening. That has changed. So we definitely got to talk about some Bitcoin miners in specific.
Wow. I'm just looking at Core.
Yeah, that's one. Well, they came out with some news, and I will tell you, I'm going to go through and show you what they came out with. I haven't read it yet. They did a whole presentation on what they're going to look like, post coming out of Chapter 11.
31%.
And it looks to me like, and I glanced at it because it's been a very busy morning, and there's some huge announcements out today. So we will go through that. But yes, that's one of the ones taking off. There could be more to the upside. I'm not sure. Just a quick hello to some of our members. Hello, Scott, Crypto, Golfer, FE702, Sour Melon Gaming, Darren.
Yeah. Tom, the graphic's not showing up on the screen.
Oh. Thank you. I had the wrong thing.
Me, thank Barry. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Barry. Sometimes I forget to press that button. Okay, so this is what the market looked like. This is what the Bitcoin miner board looked like on Friday. You can see this is massively green. I don't know if I can make this larger without changing the whole universe here. Actually, just do that. Or not. Let's undo that. Okay, timeout, timeout, timeout. FV702, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated, very generous. FV702 said, Cleanspark to the moon, told all of you and still have lots more room to go. Always said Bitcoin 160K at the halving, took some money off from Wolf and Bitfarms, Cleanspark going to 70 and making millionaires out of a lot of us. Let's go.
How much would that be?
So Bitcoin 160 at the halving. So that's we'll do some polls. That's a lot higher than most people think. I think a lot of people have changed their opinion versus, sentiment was very bad 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. So I think a lot of people are feeling a little better than that. We've had, an incredible run in Bitcoin, an incredible run in the Bitcoin miners. And so we'll take a look. We'll do some of our normal polls, and I think some of the results will change. The first result that's going to change, will Bitcoin hit $42,000 this year? Well, that is now a 100% chance because it did so today. So we were
take that as a win.
Well, we're going to call that a yes. So we were up to, everybody, not everybody, we were at about 80%. Feeling like Bitcoin was going to get to 42,000 by the end of 2023. So, that has been moving in the right direction. But I'm going to put a poll up right away because let's see where people are at now. We've asked this one, for several months now as well. So I'm going to do it again.
41,822 as we speak, just so you guys know.
Okay, so I'm going to post this poll, super simple poll. Will Bitcoin hit 45,000 by the end of the year? So on Friday, that seemed pretty far out of reach.
Man.
Well, yeah. And I was very wishy-washy, but now all of a sudden, with an 8% move over the weekend, and this is what we've talked about. When Bitcoin goes, it goes. So, we don't know. Is it done? Is there more room to run? Well, we'll talk. I'm going to give you my opinion, George. You can give your opinion, but let's let people vote first on the 45,000.
Well, I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I've been up since 3. So
because of Bitcoin,
doing research, Tom, I figured something had to happen, and then that's when I, found out about war, and I realized, the song says, "What is it good for?" Have you ever heard that song?
I think everybody knows that song.
It says, "War. What is it good for?" Absolutely, Bitcoin. Sorry, they just had the lyrics wrong.
That's not the song. That's not how it goes.
It is. Yes, that is. It's absolutely Bitcoin.
FV702's got 160K at the halving for Bitcoin. I think everybody on this stream would probably be absolutely thrilled if that was the case. Let me go back to the Bitcoin chart here. Okay, so I mean, you can see this is a good day. We pulled back after the open this morning, and that is standard issue Monday morning stuff. But since then, Bitcoin's been on the move. And these Bitcoin miners, I'm going to talk about Bitfarms in specific. Bitfarms was up about 20% in pre-market. And it's up 3.9% right now. It was down very close to break even at one point today. A lot of the stocks have pulled way back. Riot was up 12%. Now it's up 6.75%. You won't see this on this chart, so let me go. It looks like HUT's up 356%, but let me go to the real. So HUT effective today. The merger is through. This is all way off. This says market cap $2.2 billion. It's doubling that for some reason. It's about $1.1 billion. Weird things are going on with both Yahoo Finance and Google Finance. They've gotten a lot of numbers wrong on Friday and today for some reason. Now, this one I understand that they merged and changed their whole stock structure. They're share count, etc., stock price. But you can see HUT was up 5% this morning. I was talking to George before the market opened, and we were saying, wow, this HUT really picked the right day. It's not that they did this on purpose or could know, but this was a great day to have this merger because, it's in the middle of a huge rally for Bitcoin, and it looked like they were going to maybe lag the rest of the miners, but be in the green. But since then, HUT has been pulling back. It's down 13% on the day today. So we'll see.
Tom, with this big movement, we've been talking about some companies that were going to maybe not make it through the halving. Does any of this change your opinions?
If everything stops right now, where, in its tracks where it is, then no. But, if FV702 is right and we're headed towards, even if it's not 160,000, if at the halving we're at 70 or 80 or 90 or 100,000, there's going to be some companies that would not have made it that I think are going to make it. One of the companies that people have really changed their mind on, and I have not done a deep dive on this in months, but I'm going to go to, this is stock ticker MIGI. Mawson is up 55% today, in addition to the fact that I want to go to this chart. Mawson was up 71% last week. It's up another 55% today. So, to George, to your point, I think this is a company that people have decided, if Bitcoin's going to get to a healthy number, maybe these guys survive and, make it through and go on to do good things. They have a bit of a, current ratio problem. Their liabilities have grown and grown and grown to the point where they were, triple their current assets. And that looked like it was a tough situation to get out of. But, if Bitcoin's going to run like this, I'm still very worried. And just to put it in perspective, so 71% last week, 55% today. But if you go year to date, now this does not, that's the wrong chart. This does not include today's action. Year to date, Mawson is still down 32%. And remember, for those of you, it's worth noting, they're up 52% today. You don't get to add that to this 32%. That will only change this, by maybe, it's pennies on the dollar. So, they didn't make this up. They're not now in the green, but this will help. This will continue to close the gap because they were down 60%. Now they're down 32% as of Friday. They may be down 15% as of today. So, but this is all from zero, which means even with this massive rally, 72% last week, 55% today, they're still not even in the green year to date. And, Bitcoin as of Friday was up 135%, and it's had a huge run up since then. I got to believe it's somewhere in the 150% or more range. We'll check that right now. So let's minimize these for a minute. And if we look at what Bitcoin has done year to date, I'm not going to go from the absolute bottom, which happened just before year end. That's November or December. So somewhere, let's just say give or take, somewhere around here to here, it's 154% run. So Bitcoin's up more than 150% year to date. And I think there's a lot of room left to run. That's my opinion. So, this has been, we always say nothing goes up in a straight line. Well, for the last little bit, this has kind of been a straight line. Even these weeks where, we had a bearish crossover on the MACD, we were pulling back on the RSI, all the technicals were saying bad things. Even in that period of time, Bitcoin still rallied, after this 25% rally, in what was people were thinking of as sideways consolidation, Bitcoin was up, around, actually, if you go up here, more like somewhere between 10 and 15%. in a period of time where ordinarily the technicals were very similar to this period of time, where we had, you know, a 20% pullback, or this period of time. That was in July through September, or this period of time right here where we had, you know, a 20% pullback from April to June. And there was one more earlier in the year. So that didn't happen this time. We actually drifted up, not down, and then we've taken off since then. So there's bigger picture things going on here. You know, that's why we look at so many different things. Just looking at the technicals or just looking at the fundamentals, or we got to bear all things in mind. There's some big stuff going on. And, you know, obviously, in addition to everything else, the ETF is looming large here. And I think it's helping push this rally. But I don't think that's the majority of what's going on with this rally. I won't deny it's certainly probably a piece of the puzzle, but, you know, I'm not going to say that's why Bitcoin's off to the races like this. FV702, thank you very much for the super chat. Said, let's go Saudi investment fund, 776 billion of buying power. So that's one of many, many, many gigantic pools of money that is going to start investing in Bitcoin, right? We're at the significantly less than 1% of all potential investment money has access to Bitcoin right now. So, you know, there's so much more money that's going to come into this.
Can you explain that a little bit, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. So without this Bitcoin ETF, and that's one of the reasons people are so excited about a Bitcoin ETF, your traditional, you know, brokerage account, they can't go buy Bitcoin for you. You can't buy Bitcoin through your broker. You can't buy. Now, there's a few like Robinhood and some others are starting to give access to that, but retirement funds, you know, institutional money is not buying. So all the corporate money is not invested at all in Bitcoin. That's trillions of dollars. All of, you know, retirement accounts, that's, you know, even many multiples more trillions of dollars than that. You've got just individual companies. BlackRock's got $9 or $10 billion. Fidelity's got trillion dollars. Fidelity's got $5 or $6 trillion. Vanguard's got $7 or $8 trillion. All of that money's not invested in Bitcoin yet. All of those. And remember, when BlackRock has $9 or $10 trillion or whatever the number is, that's not their money. They have investors, all right, gigantic investors with big, big money. And those investors they don't have any exposure to Bitcoin yet. So all of that is ahead of us. Almost all of the money in this world that is used for investment purposes doesn't even really have access to buying a Bitcoin yet and hasn't even started to buy Bitcoin. So, you know, that's not all going to happen overnight. The second an ETF is approved in the US, all of a sudden we're not going to get, you know, $5 trillion pouring into this. But it's going to be a gigantic step among many steps where adoption continues. Every time I meet somebody now, I ask them, you know what Bitcoin is?
And, do you really?
Yeah. You know what Bitcoin is? And then, okay. Yeah. It's usually, yeah, I've heard of it. Are you invested in Bitcoin? No, I haven't met a person yet. Not one. And it's a small sample group. And, you know, obviously there are people investing in Bitcoin, but the John Q public, you know, test this out yourself. Go to work and ask 5 people. Have you ever heard of Bitcoin? And most likely they're going to say something along the lines of, yeah, I know. I kind of know what that is. But
my cousin Jimmy, he told me all about that crypto stuff.
Exactly. What's that? Is that fake or? So I'm going to take a moment out. RP, thank you very much for the super chat. That is very generous. And RP is asking thoughts on Cipher and the Cipher warrants price movement. So Cipher's been lagging behind a little bit. Cipher ran way out ahead And then they've lagged behind a little bit lately. And I think it's kind of putting them a little bit more in line with where they should be. I will tell you, my thoughts on Cipher for starters is I think that's a very strong Bitcoin mining company. That's a company that's not worried about the halving. Their cost per coin is very low. So I like everything about that company. The one thing that I have not liked over the last 6 months is their valuation compared to the other Bitcoin miners. But that is starting to come in line with the other Bitcoin miners. If you look now, let's look at Cipher. Okay, it's $775 million. So at one point, they were, other than Riot and Marathon, they were by far the largest market cap. But at this point, you've got Cleanspark at, this says $1.5 billion. Cleanspark just crossed $1 billion like 2 or 3 trading days ago. This has been a vicious run up in Cleanspark. They are up. They did not pull back, although, they were up 17 or 18%. Now they're up 13, but they've held their gains today. They're double the size of Cipher now, whereas 2 months ago, Cipher had a bigger market cap than them. So now all of a sudden, I would look at Cipher a little bit differently. I'm not currently invested in them, but I do think they're going to be one of the companies that succeeds over the course of time. And, again, we've talked on this channel a lot. I've been adamant. I do think there will be winners and losers, and how you define losers is going to be different. And a lot of it goes to George's question, does this price action change your mind? If this price action continues, if Bitcoin has, a monster run up, it's going to save some of those companies, but there will still be companies that, from an investment standpoint, even though they're now going to be okay and they can survive the halving and move forward, from an investment standpoint, they may not be the strong investments that some of the other healthier companies are going to be. On the flip side, in the short term, and somebody asked this a couple of weeks ago, and whoever did this has killed it. They said, well, what if I just pick the bottom 3 stocks? Everything's been so destroyed right now. What if I just invest in the bottom 3 for a swing trade? Is that worth doing? And honestly, I was kind of like, well, I'd rather stick with the companies that I've done my due diligence, I know through and through, and I feel good about. So, to me, I was like, yeah, obviously do whatever you want. None of this is financial advice, but I did not do that. For that person, I hope that you did that because you hit a grand slam home run. Those companies have been on a tear. Well,
Any's up 20% today.
So Any's up 20% today, and Any was up 28% on Friday. We know that Mawson was up 72% last week, and it's up 55% today. So, those were 2 of the 3. And then Stronghold was up 23% on Friday. That was the third one. And then Stronghold today is up 13%. So, if somebody made that trade, absolutely congratulations, because that's one I stayed away. That's not my deal, but that was a good call in hindsight 2020. But that person didn't have hindsight. They picked it ahead of time. JLM, want to take a moment to thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. Very generous. JML says, thanks for all your hard work here in 2023. Tom, would love to see you do deeper dives into the infrastructure assets and details of miners in 2024. All right. So just do me a favor, JML, and give me a little more about what you're talking about, exactly what you want to see. Is it miners that I haven't done deep dives on that you're looking for? And if so, let me know by name. Or are you looking for
real assets?
Yeah.
That's what I think they mean. Real assets, like which company has real assets moving forward, have an infrastructure built out.
Versus I'm going to just pick on Marathon, even though I think it's a good.
Going there.
Well,
it was
they have earned it for even though they're changing their ways. They spent 2 years asset light, asset light. That was their catchphrase, buzzword. That was their philosophy. So, and I don't own any Marathon. I owned it in the last bull run and did well on that and got out. I'm not in it at the moment, but I do think it's a very strong company. But their concept was, we're not going to have any infrastructure at all. And we're going to be asset light. It's going to allow us to buy a ton of machines, way more than everybody else, and we're going to end up ahead as a result of that. They are shifting gears now. So if that's what you're talking about, some companies are basically 100% or close to fully vertically integrated. They have the infrastructure from the ground up. Some of the companies own the power or have fixed power purchase agreements. They have their own they're using their own grid. So and to the extent where some of them get to sell power.
Yeah. He wrote strategy for their equipment, real yes, and real assets.
Okay. All right, absolutely. And thank you again. Much appreciated for the super chat. That's a good recommendation.
I have a question. At least I want to know. When does HUT become interesting for you again?
Today.
Oh, really? So with their $2 billion market cap?
And it's really 1 billion. So that is wrong. Okay. For those of you who, let's see if other websites have that. Let's see what Google's saying. We'll go HUT market cap. Whoa, Google's got it at 3 billion. Yahoo's got it at 2 billion. For anybody who's wondering, give or take, HUT's market cap is now $1 billion. It was about 500 million on Friday. They did a merger of equals. It wasn't exactly perfectly a merger of equals, if you do the math, but essentially their $500 million turned into $1 billion. Now, they're down a little bit today, so they're probably a little under $1 billion, but give or take, that is their market cap. I don't know why everybody's got these numbers so wrong, but they'll fix them. By the end of the week, these will all be right, I would assume. But you can do the math yourself. They go through it. But you'll come up with it's, plus or minus $1 billion, which makes them, I think that makes them the fourth largest market cap. But it's important to know that really all year in the year 2023, HUT has been either the fourth or fifth largest market cap Bitcoin miner by market cap. So, for them to double and still be the fourth largest, I don't think that's out of whack because they have, over 9,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They have a very strong balance sheet. They just drastically increased their business in, from mining to other streams of revenue. So I was looking today. I'm not gonna do it today. Let's see where the dust settles. But I will tell you, I was waiting for this to happen. I was worried, and I do think had Bitcoin not just gone on a monster run, I do think HUT was going to get crushed today. So I'm glad Bitcoin went on the run. I'll take my gains and everything else that we got, but this is not quite the buying opportunity that I was expecting it to be today. But I do like this company. In fact, we're talking to Sue this week. So I'm going to talk to her Wednesday. We'll probably post that on Thursday. So now that we've been waiting and waiting, for those of you who follow the channel, we've been waiting for this merger to be final. So that Sue could, yeah. And it was, originally it was, it's going to be final September 30th. And that's when I said, we were going back and forth, do you want to talk before it's final or after? And, it was only a couple of weeks away, I thought. So I said, well, let's just talk after. And then you could really kind of tell us everything that's really going on. But September 30th turned into, November 30th. And now December 4th is the official day. But with all that said, it is now done. So we are going to be having an interview with Sue. So you can drop in the comments, in the chat. Let me know if there's anything in specific you want me to ask Sue, anything specific as it pertains to Hut 8 and Bitcoin mining, etc.
So you never finished. So right now is a good time to get back into Hut. You're getting interest. You're interested in it.
I'm interested. This is what I was waiting for. I really, I was expecting a big pullback on this day today, and it's now, under 10%. So it's not a big pullback, but on a green day, it's red. And I think, had Bitcoin not gone off over the weekend, I think we could have had maybe a 15-20% pullback, maybe even more. And this isn't done. The dust hasn't settled yet. So this could go down before it goes up. And if it does, I will, what's the matter?
Nothing. You don't want to know. It's just these guys are killing me. But go on.
Anyway, this is getting interesting to me. And I think $1 billion market cap's not I'm just looking, we're looking at this 3 billion, which is false. So let me get off of that. And by the way, go ahead.
So you're thinking right around this price point is probably as low as it's going to get right now for a HUD, and that $10 is a good number.
I'm not buying today, so I would have to say my answer to that is no.
Okay.
But what I will say is I think we're in the neighborhood. And if you're somebody who's dollar cost averaging, then and I've been heavy dollar cost averaging into, they're not in my top 3. I do like them. I like them a lot more. I've been waiting and waiting. I think this merger makes them a much, much better company. I do think there's going to be potentially a better window of opportunity. And if I miss it, I miss it, right? That's one of the things with investing from my perspective that I think is most important. Set price targets. Just because you like a company doesn't mean you automatically absolutely must buy the stock at any price. You still should set a price target. If it gets to your price target, you buy the stock. And, there's opportunities everywhere. So everything doesn't have to be a buy. I would love to pick up some HUT. I had some options that I got out of right before, this, last week. And those were great for me. So, but I got out of them in anticipation of this merger. And I thought, I'll get out of those and maybe I can get back in after the merger. So we'll see what happens. I'm not quite there yet, though.
Wowzy. If you guys can do me a huge favor and hit the like button, it really helps out the stream in real time. So we really appreciate that.
Thank you, George.
So Tom, what is your reasoning why you think Bitcoin took off? Or do you not want to say?
I mean, we've been talking for those of you following along, for the subscribers, for the members, and for about the 50% of you who regularly watch the channel who have not yet subscribed, I will make a pitch. It is free to subscribe, so please feel free to subscribe if you enjoy this content. It does help out the channel a lot. We are a super small channel, so any help we can get is much appreciated. If you enjoy, obviously, if you don't like the content, but if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. So anyway, if you've been following us, I've been talking for quite some time now about Bitcoin getting to 42,000 before the end of the year. So on any given day, I don't know, nobody knows, but I've been pretty adamant. I think we were, from a technical standpoint, set up to make a run at 42,000 by the end of the year. We are in December. I mean, it's December 4th. We're, 4 weeks from this year being over. So I feel like this is basically right exactly on track with what the technicals were showing. And, the momentum, it's the technicals, it's the momentum, it's, the pending ETF. And I will tell you, some of the things that made me feel that way, Bitcoin has showed unbelievable resilience and strength. When the market was going down, Bitcoin was staying strong. We had a Binance fiasco. Bitcoin stayed strong. There just been a series of things that have showed that Bitcoin has been it's turned the corner. We are now almost 1 year into a bull market, and it's actually picking up steam. So for those reasons, I felt strongly 42 by the end of the year. Now, I did say, I think that was our live stream. So I did say on our live stream on Friday, I was 50-50 on 45,000 by the end of the year, but 42 has been my price target, and I was pretty confident of that. That doesn't mean it was going to happen. It turns out it did happen, but that was no guarantee. 42,159 is what this chart I'm on right now is showing as the high of the day, which is the high of the year 2023, and it's about a 19 or 20 month high. I think it's a 20-month high at this point. So, I mean, these are big moves.
So, Tom, do you get nervous with this type of price action movement in Bitcoin really quick? Or no, do you just think it was finally making up some ground?
I think we would prefer that, I would prefer a more slow and steady. But right now, I mean, I just went to the 1-day chart, and I'm very messy, so pardon my mess. But we had this gigantic, very rapid move to the upside in, late October. And right here, we started talking about, maybe, we're due for a pullback. But even with this giant move to the upside, then we started talking about, well, Bitcoin's consolidating. But the truth was, it wasn't consolidating. From the top of this run, to what turned into some resistance for a couple of weeks, that was about a 12% move to the upside. So, moving sideways and up 12% in a time frame, and I'm just going to go to a couple of the standard issue technicals. In that time frame, I gotta fix this, sorry. Okay, so in that time frame, you can see the RSI peaked. We got to almost 90 on the RSI during this run on the 1-day time frame. That is about as high as it gets. So at this point, typically in the past, you can see when that happened before, even, the last two 20% pullbacks happened when Bitcoin hit 70 on the daily RSI. This was a 20% pullback. This was a 20% pullback. At the beginning of the year, in January, we did get up to almost 90. And then when we hit that, it was a 20% pullback. So you can see this year was being very predictable. Well, we got up to 90 on the daily RSI. But this time, as we pulled back and didn't even get back down to 50, as this was drifting down, this was drifting up. Now, a lot of people would say that's a bearish divergence, and that makes it highly likely that we're about to have a big drop in Bitcoin. And some people might say we're still forming a bearish divergence, but I would strongly disagree with that. As this drifted down, this drifted up, but then, since then, if you were thinking this was a bearish divergence, to me, it's nullified. And that's just a technical strategy that says, when this pattern forms, it's more likely than not that the next move for Bitcoin is, either sideways or more likely to the downside. But we then had yet another. Sorry, let me get to. All right. We had another big move up, which is this one that we're in the middle of. So that completely invalidates that. In addition to this invalidating that, if you look at the daily RSI, to me, we are now having, these are higher highs and higher lows. So this trend is dead. In my opinion, that trend is dead, and we're now, we're now in this trend. So, I feel like we have every chance of doing this again. So it gets really hard to tell. This is a gray area. I want to take a moment. I think we got a super chat that I did not respond to. FB702, thank you very much for the super chat. CleanSpark 2026 strike options at $10. Worth it? Need an education? What's my potential? So I would have to dig into those. 2026 is way out. And what do they cost? I guess we can take a look. We'll take a look and I'll just give you my thoughts on that. So let me finish this and then I will take a look at that. But right now I do think, leap options, particularly out in 2025, and this one looks like it's in 2026. That should be somewhere probably after the top of the next bull run. So that gives you more than enough time for these companies to do what they're going to do. I mean, we could be, to put it in perspective, a $10 strike point, if we had a good day tomorrow, we could hit $10 tomorrow on CleanSpark. So this is very close to in the money. Just ask George, who had a recent experience with this. He could tell you about after.
But I doubled down my position, so it is what it is.
So, to me,
I won't say what I want to say.
Your question to me originally, George, was, am I worried that it's moved up this fast? Ordinarily, moves up this fast when nothing goes up in a straight line is, what we like to say. So I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see a pullback, but this doesn't scare me the way it ordinarily would, because we are so deep into momentum right now, and that's an important factor. So I do think there's every chance that George and I talked off screen. To me, there's very, very little, and we'll take a look at this. There's very little, in my opinion, standing in the way between 42,000 and 48,000. I don't see a stopping point in the middle there. And that doesn't mean I think we're going to just go on a straight line from 42,000 to 48,000. I think it was unnatural that we didn't have some pullback, even if it wasn't a full 20% pullback. I think we were due for a 10 or 15% pullback or a 20% pullback, and it didn't happen. So if we were to get one of those in between now and 48,000, it certainly would not surprise me. For me, I will use that as a buying opportunity, big time, not financial advice. I'm just telling you guys, that's how I'm viewing Bitcoin right now. I see 48,000 as a very realistic price target. My price target for the halving was $50,000. I'm really starting to feel like I'm going to stay with that number because that's what I've been saying all along, but I think we could blow by that. But in particular, between here and 48,000, there may be some zigzags along the way.
Whoa.
But I think that's very doable. What happened, George?
Core, Mike just wrote down, core is up 80% for the day.
See, yeah, that's okay. we did this instead, but it looked to me like, based on, I'll show you. They put out a big presentation, and at a glance, I took a 5-minute glance, and I was like, it seems like maybe I'm missing something. It seems like there should be a much bigger pop going on here. And now, now it is running, so maybe people are digesting that. But who knows? This could pull right back in the next half an hour. But it does look like, and I would like to go through, well, let me just show you really quickly. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but they put this December 4th, Core Scientific Emergence Overview. They go, here's their agenda. This is their plan, essentially, to come out of Chapter 11, Business Overview. I'm not going to you can see, it's 43 pages long, and this is why I didn't read the whole thing. But when I did a quick overview, it looked like there was massive room to the upside, past what I thought, and past what it looked like in the last press release that they put out. So I think we still don't know, but that might shed a lot more light than I realize, and I haven't read it yet. It's hot off the presses, and we're here doing this at the moment, so I didn't get a chance to go through that. But if you're in Core Scientific, congratulations to anybody who's in Core Scientific. That is obviously today an awesome trade. It's hard to imagine. Let's go back to the big board here. We're at 41,860. So Bitcoin, continues to have a fantastic day today. We've got Mawson's up almost 48%. Core Scientific's up. This says 74%. Any is up 28%. I mean, Argo Blockchain's up 24%. I got very tempted. I did some deep dive on Argo Blockchain last night and then again a little bit this morning. I can't pull the trigger on it. There's a few things that make me nervous. But, I think it seems like people are coming around on Argo Blockchain, and, maybe that's a good members only deep dive, because there might be something going on there. It's had a big run up, but, it's still on the year not doing well overall. So, if they're going to survive, this is another one that goes to your point, George, for the ones that are going to survive. If Argo Blockchain comes out of this, they had a very bad year this year, so they'll have a lot of ground to catch up if they're gonna make it. The market's pricing in a lot of these companies not making it, or at least
we're knocking at 42,000 again right now in Bitcoin. Just so you know.
Yeah, that's a huge spot, and I don't see. I have this line at 42,000 and change, but. This is not a strong line at all. I would not be surprised if we ran right through this line. Let me go to, I'll just go to the 1 week for a second. First of all, I talked about this on my, if you haven't watched my video from this weekend, it's worth a watch. And immediately following this live stream, I will be posting my CleanSpark deep dive video. So I hope you guys are interested in that. That took me forever to put together. It was a lot of legwork. So I think it's a really good video. Check that one out. It's a little longer than my usual videos. I think it's, maybe 20 or 25 minutes, but it's worth a watch. And again, I'll post that right after this live stream. But what I wanted to show you guys is these are weekly candles. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If this week holds, and this weekly candle started today, so it is way premature to discuss this being a green candle, but even 7 weeks, we haven't had 7 weeks in a row of green candles since May of 2020. That was, 3.5 years ago. So this is a gigantic run, and that's why I'm saying the momentum here is huge, and when we have these types of runs, they tend to keep running. And I'm just going to throw out another statistic, and all these things, you got to take each one with a grain of salt, and it's one I have not heard anybody talk about anywhere. And I don't know that it's going to happen, but in each of the previous 3 4-year cycles, between the peak for Bitcoin and the trough, the crypto winter, between the bottom and the halving, each of the past 3 times Bitcoin had a 300% run up prior to the halving. So that we're at 150% right now. If we don't have a 300% run up, it will be the first time that's ever happened in the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Now, we've had a lot of firsts. Remember, there's only been 3 of these. So a lot of these trends are going to break. But, would I be surprised to see the next $20,000, $30,000 up? I wouldn't be. And it would be consistent with what's happened every single time previously. So I think those are the reasons I think there's a lot of room left to the upside. I picked 50,000, which would be short of that, but we don't know.
Crypto Burger, thanks, Mr. Bitcoin. I no longer have to mess with poor people. I'm finally middle class now, so keep up the good work.
Well, God. I think Bitcoin, Bitcoin's going to make a lot of people change their financial situation in this life if things go the way that we think they're going to go. And this year has just been spectacular. So this is one of the good years for Bitcoin. I mean, up 150%. The year's not over, but we're very close to over. I think we're going to keep running from here.
So what's 150% from here, Tom? 60s?
Well, to have a full 300% run up would be $75,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And again, that's happened every single time. So I'm not saying it's going to happen this time. In fact, I doubt it. But if it doesn't, it will be the first time it didn't happen.
Hey, what was the highest it's ever done?
They've all been between 300 and like 390%.
Oh, okay.
So, it's been pretty, pretty consistent. And we're at 150%. As things get bigger and bigger, maybe 300% turns into 200%. Maybe in the next cycle it's 120%. Because the numbers, are much larger now. But this run is what usually happens. And, we still, like I said, the biggest. We voted on the channel a while ago. What do you think that the ETF will be the biggest catalyst in the history of Bitcoin? And overwhelmingly, the vast majority of people said yes.
I mean, that's going to be more money than anything else into Bitcoin.
It opens the floodgates, and that's almost the wrong way to say it. It opens because it's not like, I don't think the money's going to flood in. So saying it opens the floodgates infers like all of a sudden, hundreds of billions of dollars are going to come in. It opens the door to all the rest of the money in the world that currently does not have access to Bitcoin. And whether that takes a day, a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, in all of those period of time. I was just watching somebody, now I forgot his name, but he's a very prominent person in the investment world. And he basically, his point was 5 years from now, it is going to be considered, his words were, it's going to be considered fiduciarily irresponsible not to have some amount of money in Bitcoin. And his point was, that means people are going to get off of zero. Right now, almost all the money in the world is at zero as it pertains to their investment in Bitcoin. So all everybody has to do is get off of zero, even if they put 1%, 1.5%, 2%, the amount of money that's going to put into Bitcoin. And then there's a gigantic multiplier effect. Putting $100 billion into Bitcoin is not going to raise the market cap by $100 billion. It could raise the market cap by $1 trillion or more. We don't know what the multiple will be in the future. But like any stock, Bitcoin's no different than any other investment. There's a multiplier effect on the amount of money that goes in. That next incremental dollar on the supply versus the demand, creates upward pressure, that exceeds the amount of money you're investing. And that's another crucial thing. George's mantra all year has been get your money off of these exchanges. Unless you're trading, get your money off the exchanges. Number one, for your own safety, so that, not your keys, not your wallet, or not your keys, not your coins. And number two, it reduces the existing supply. And as the existing supply is reduced and all of a sudden a lot of new money comes in and the demand goes up, this Bitcoin is subject to the same laws of supply and demand in economics that everything else is. So,
and I think that that's one of the things too that people forget. If we don't remove our coins from the exchanges, then they can use them like it's theirs. So they can count them as their coins, and then they can trade them, buy them, sell them, and they just have to have their market to market. So they don't have to have anything additional. And that's a big one, Tom, because even if we just did that, the price of Bitcoin would go up.
Yes, and a lot of people have done that, and it's one of the reasons the price of Bitcoin is going up. The amount of Bitcoin on chain continues to reduce. It's at a many year low. Mike is saying, I think Coinbase is safe to keep coins on. and I don't disagree with you, Mike, but we all think that when times are good and everything's okay, and that may very well be the case. But for as long as it's on chain, it's considered a part of the supply. But for your own personal purposes, yes. If any place is safe, in my opinion, I agree Coinbase would be the safest place.
Oh, I'm sorry. Usually I'm screaming, guys, so usually you can hear me fine, but I don't know. I must be calm now.
Are people saying they can't hear you?
Yeah, they can't hear me. Usually I turn my mic down because usually I'm always screaming. And I guess I'm just like calm today.
Well, pep up, George.
So
We need your
123 likes, 235 people watching, Tom. Just wow. No one likes us. They just don't like us, Tom. I'm hurt.
It's the
Ouch.
YouTube algorithm. It's the YouTube algorithm. Do us a favor. I know all you guys have done a great job smashing the like button, but if you have not, please smash the like button. YouTube, we get stopped out at this point every single live stream. It's absolutely incredible. So let's see if we can get to 300 concurrent viewers.
That'd be nice, finally.
It would be a breakthrough, and every time we do that, it will help on future live streams. So, and also, thank you to all the people who are here. I don't want to overlook everybody who did show up and who is here. So much appreciation. Glad you guys could join us in the middle of what is a wild day. And this is a pretty historic run right now in Bitcoin. There's no way when we did the Friday live stream that we thought on Monday would be at Bitcoin 42,000. There's not one person on the stream. Well, maybe there was, but not many.
Crypto fever.
Crypto fever.
Yeah, definitely.
He's been bullish.
So Tom, didn't you say that less than 1% of the total world population even knows anything about crypto, let alone Bitcoin?
I don't know what the percent is. But I know that most people, and this is, that is not a statistic. Most people still don't know what cryptocurrency is. Most people, even the people that have heard of Bitcoin, don't really necessarily even know what it is. And remember, knowing what it is still a far cry from investing in it. So there's a gigantic education process that has to go on. But what that means is, as this asset and this asset class matures, the rest of the world is going to know what it is, right? Everybody knows what a stock is. Everybody knows oil trades as a commodity. Everybody knows about gold. Well, a lot of people, significant number of people, don't know about Bitcoin. Most of those people don't really have, one of the reasons that ETF is going to be a big deal is there's an awful lot of investors who, even if they could go invest in Bitcoin with their own money, forget the money that's tied up in retirement plans, all the institutional money, even if they could take their own money and go do it, to a lot of you, it might be second nature at this point, buying cryptocurrency, but to somebody that's never done it, it is a gigantic learning curve. And, as no longer a young person myself, the older you get, the less likely you are to go do something that far different than what you're used to doing, especially with your money. This is not picking up a new habit. Hey, I'm going to go play pickleball, which I don't play, but congratulations to you if you do. This is, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Well, that's true in general. Never mind with their money. So there's massive, massive barriers to people getting into Bitcoin, and those are going to go away with time, education, adoption, and then obviously the ETF is going to be a game changer. A lot of those people will say, oh, I can just buy, it's like buying another stock. I can add that to my portfolio in my retirement account. Boom, let's do it. Want to take a time out? Petty Camp, thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Petty Camp said, thanks, Tom, for consistently terrific videos. I disagree slightly on momentum continuing. We're we're due for at least a small pullback. It would be healthy. I don't disagree with you. When I say momentum's continuing, I do think at any time we could have a little pullback. I think big picture in the next, I still say, in the next 4 to 5 months between now and the halving, I think we're going to go up. But you're absolutely right. I would be surprised if we didn't have some type of 5, 10, 15% pullback in the middle. I mean, it's been we skipped a whole cycle of retesting, and finding a line of support. We just skipped that whole cycle and went right to the next one. And if we do it again at some point, we're going to have to go retest a number, find some solid footing. So I agree. I would say that's a great point, Petty Camp. Everybody, I would not get, I won't tell you what to do. I will not be spooked if we have anywhere a 5, 10, 15% pullback. It's very surprising that we haven't at this point. But I do think it will be short-lived. For me, it's going to be a buying opportunity if it happens. And, I think in general, that's what I say when I say the momentum is up. I think in general, between now and the halving, I think Bitcoin's going to higher places. I'm saying 50,000, but I feel like that's conservative. Let's end this first poll. Will Bitcoin hit 45,000 in the year 2023? We are now at 85% yes on that. So this big leg to the upside that we took over the weekend drastically changed. This has been anywhere from 50-50 to 60-40. At one point, this popped up to 65%. It's now at 85%. So there's growing confidence that, we're now only $3,000 away from that. This was, understandably, a much more difficult equation on Friday at, under 38,000. We were going to need to take a $7,000 run up to get to 45,000 by the end of the year. That was harder to imagine. We're at 41,939 right now. We're getting very close to crossing 42,000 again. Let's see if we can do that on the stream. But I think we're going to higher places, but fair point, watch out for a pullback. And for me, that's not going to be a scary event. A lot of times, I know probably a lot of you are hoping and waiting for a pullback. If you weren't done filling out your positions and, you were expecting lower numbers and we just didn't get it. So, I never root for a pullback. If we never have another pullback, I'll be happy. But that's, one of the reasons is we just had, almost 2 years of crypto winter, and I dollar cost averaged in on a pretty heavy basis. My positions are not full; they're more than full. So I never expected to have this much of a position
you put more
in these stocks. I've been dollar cost averaging in, even all the way down, but particularly once the FTX situation happened, and that was now over 1 year ago. Especially the next 60 days, I dollar cost averaged in heavily, and I've continued to do so all year this year. So, if this is where my positions end up, and this is all I get, I'm in a happy place. But not everybody is necessarily in that spot, I'm sure. And there's certain stocks, with HUT, for instance, I've been waiting for an opportunity. So if that opportunity presents itself, maybe I'm not going to buy any more Cleanspark. That's by far my biggest position in my whole portfolio right now. So I don't see a scenario where I'm going to be adding Cleanspark anytime soon. But if HUT pulls back, I think that might be getting to a spot where I'd be interested. So, we'll see.
So this is the time where you say, have your exit strategy plan.
That's exactly right. As always, understand your entire investment strategy, and that means when you're going to enter, how much you're going to enter, what represents what you consider, what's your target size position. And sometimes you'll go past that. If circumstances dictate, I went past that with a couple of these stocks because at some point when, versus your analysis, and I look at the fundamentals, versus what I was looking at, some of these stocks were so stupidly oversold that, I went past my original target of, how many shares and how much I was going to invest. And that has paid off for me. So in this instance, it paid off. But, to George's point, have a plan. That was my plan to get in. That's how much of a position I wanted to get. And then what's your plan to get out? Some people may want to take profits. This has been a monster run. So let's go look at a chart, because
before you do that, I got to give a real quick update on the 10K challenge.
We're
up 22% today, just so you know.
Nice.
We're up to 4,400, so that's going to be interesting to see.
That's still rolling.
Yep.
That's still rolling along. Craig said 190 votes on the poll, only 150 likes. Thank you, Craig. Good point. So please, if you can, I don't know, different devices work differently, but if you're able to, it really, really, really helps the stream. It helps the channel.
Drop the phone on the ground and slam it. Hit it hard.
No,
I think if it's on mobile, like you hit the screen, there's a little thumb and you go.
However, whatever it takes, if you guys would be so kind as to smash the like button, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do on this stream here, because the more people we get here.
Have you changed your opinion on like your ranking of the miners, and did you do that this weekend?
I mean, I'm always in my mind updating. I'm not ready to give we're almost to a new year. So at the beginning of 2021, I gave my rankings of where I felt all the Bitcoin miners were from an investment standpoint. And I will tell you, at the beginning of 2023, I had Riot at number 1 and CleanSpark at number 2. So the one thing that I have disclosed is early on in the year, those two flip-flopped for me. CleanSpark became my number 1, and it is still my number 1. And I will say, Riot went to number 2. I'm not even sure it's number 2 anymore, but we have to talk about Riot, because they just put out a press release today that I can't even digest. I can't even understand. This is absolute insanity, and we haven't said a word about it, and I don't even think anybody's asked about it. So I'm going to show you guys what Riot put out today, because this is crazy time.
Tom, we just passed Bitcoin just went to 42, roughly 18, and I think we could have our best stream ever right now too, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so
thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and smash the like button. Let's see if we can keep it running. This is Bitcoin 42,000. Let's have our best stream.
So yeah, I read what Riot said, and I didn't even say anything to you because this didn't make sense to me. So go ahead.
Riot purchases 18 exahash and secures long-term supply of hash rate from MicroBT. So the 18 exahash is not a surprise. That's actually exercising an option they already had. What follows is what boggles my mind. So I'm going to go down to their bullet points. Riot places order for 18 exahash of latest generation MicroBT Bitcoin miners, primarily consisting of the leading edge M66S model. That's a $290 million purchase. It's 18 exahash. That works out, I think, to $16 per terahash. That's very competitive. For the Antminers, people have been paying $14 a terahash, so 14, 16, tomato. I don't think that's the big deal here. $290 million is a massive amount of money, but Riot is rich. This company has an extremely healthy balance sheet. They have, a $3 billion market cap company, so, this represents 10% of their market cap. I'm sure they'll do dilution to get some of this. But what they say next, Riot secured purchase options for up to an additional 75 exahash with a fixed price ceiling. So we've never had an announcement for, this is essentially additional purchase options provide Riot with a path to achieve over 100 exahash in self-mining capacity. 100 exahash. So I want to show you their investor presentation that's been out for a while, just to show you that. So this, I think, was in November, or whenever the case may be. So they've had this first part, the first 18 exahash, and here they're showing it as 16 exahash. This was an option they had when they made their last purchase. So they show you Q3 of 2024, they plan on being at 20 exahash. And then sometime in 2025, they planned on being at 36 exahash. That was exercising their option that they just talked about. Well, they have now exercised that option. But this 36, so that's 36 exahash. But really, with the 18, it's 38 exahash. And then, oops, that's the wrong one. But then with another 75 exahash, that puts them well over 100 exahash. Now, maybe somewhere in the middle, they'll retire some machines based on the fact that, if they exercise all this, they'll have 100 exahash of, the latest and greatest machines. But, I mean, this is so many multiples bigger. So I need to dig into this more. Again, this came out also today. So the information's been coming fast and furious. This is another reason I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. This is the beginning. This reminds me of, December 2020, January, February, March 2021, when the Bitcoin miners all of a sudden, and remember, a lot of Bitcoin miners made no purchases in the year 2022. There were very little purchases of Bitcoin miners. There was a lot of spot purchases, 5,000 here, sometimes 10,000 there. But there were none of these big orders, 5 exahash, 10 exahash, 20 exahash, like we were getting. Well, all of a sudden now, we're starting to see, press release after press release. Bitfarms just had a monster press release to get from 6 exahash up to 12 and then 17 and then 20. So, that was a massive, massive update. And now all of a sudden here, this is 18 exahash, and now they're talking about another 75 past that. So when the Bitcoin miners start acting like this, to me, this is at the beginning of a bull run. Now, I understand, really, technically, we're 12 months into Bitcoin moving up. We're 150% up already. But, as far as the cycle goes, in theory, we haven't even really begun the real bull market part of the 4-year halving cycle. So we'll see. And obviously everybody's given every prediction under the sun as to where they see that going. But let's watch those predictions change over time as Bitcoin moves. Let's do a new poll.
Tom,
yeah, go ahead.
Before you do that poll, I just remembered a question you got to ask Sue.
Yes.
Did they include their hodl, hodl, whatever you call it, in this new deal? That was the big thing.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
I know
if they
the
did or
answer
didn't.
to that. Absolutely.
Yes, they did?
Yes. So
Okay.
This is a merger of equals. Every single asset and liability of both companies is now all a part of the new company. So it's one big happy family.
Did they put out financials then of it? What it is, or no, not yet?
They've put out financial information. We'll get a quarterly report now. This is now a new company, and they're right. As of today traded on the NASDAQ. They are now a U.S. company, which gets them out of that value-added tax in Canada. That's 15%. That was a small part of why I think they did this, but I do think it was a piece of the puzzle. I'm not sure what's going on there. Those guys got to get rid of that. I know we have a lot of people from Canada that are members and subscribers. Let me know from your perspective what you see going on just from, politically versus Bitcoin, because that's a pretty heavy penalty for mining Bitcoin. And it's not really going on in any other country. So, and there's a lot of Bitcoin mining that was going on in Canada and continues to go on. So, part of it is because there's so much hydroelectricity in Canada, and based on the temperatures, even with this 15% tax, it still ends up being a good place to mine Bitcoin. But it does not help that they're taxing it like this.
Oh, that 15% tax.
It's certainly not helping, and I think it has a lot to do, well, not a lot, but I think it's a piece of the puzzle as to, well, I will say a lot to do with why, not why Hut 8 merged, but why they chose to be a US company post-merger versus a Canadian company. And there's a lot of other reasons. Institutional adoption, I think, will increase based on that. Their stock price is now, $10. So being over $5, being a US company, Hut is probably going to start to get a lot. If I had to guess, I would say as a percent, their institutional adoption is going to increase the most over the next 12 months. That doesn't mean they're going to have the most adoption. Obviously, Riot and Marathon already have massive institutional adoption. CleanSpark is starting to move down that path. I think you're going to see Hut and Bitfarms start to go down that path. Now, Hut a lot faster than Bitfarms, because Bitfarm, even with this gigantic run up, is still only, let's go. It got up to $2 early this morning and then pulled back to $1.70. Let's take a look at where it's at right now. $1.74. So, until it gets over $5, that is a barrier for a lot of institutions. So they need to break that threshold. But you can see Hut with this merger, they're a $10 stock now. So they're checking a lot of boxes with this. In addition to the fact that I do think, these two companies were a good fit. I like what they've done here. So we will talk to Sue about that. Let me know in the comments if you guys do have any questions for Sue. Also, I am going to be sitting down with Anthony Powers tomorrow. For those of you who are familiar with Anthony, he also spends a lot of time analyzing the Bitcoin miners. So I'm going to sit down and ask him a bunch of questions. So let me know if you guys have anything in specific you would like me to talk to Anthony about. Drop in the chat if you guys know who Anthony is. He's over on Twitter, is where I usually see him. I know, probably a lot of you know him because he is one of the, he follows the Bitcoin miners closely as I do. So we're going to sit down tomorrow and have a conversation, and I will post a video on that. So let me know if you got anything that you want to know from Anthony. So that's coming out as well. I have to get back to, we're going to sit down also with the CEO of Bitfarms. That was going to happen this week, and I kind of dropped the ball on that. There's so many things going on that I missed my window. So I'm hoping that was going to be actually today. So hopefully I can get that set up for next week. So that's some of the stuff that's going on with the channel. That's some of the stuff that's going to be coming at you. I got some other people I'm talking to that I want to get on the channel. I want to bring some more voices onto the channel. And, hopefully as people get familiar with us, maybe we can bring them onto the live streams as well, so you guys get a chance to talk to them directly. So that's what we got going on here. Also, thank you, everybody. We did recently pass 15,000 subscribers, so that was a big milestone. That took us forever. Like I said, we're a super small channel, and I will tell you, thanks to everybody, because the amount of views that our videos get for the size channel that we are is absolutely tremendous. So I appreciate everybody's loyalty, and all you guys watching the videos and all your comments and thoughts. So also, for anybody who doesn't know, we do have the least expensive membership probably in the world. We offer a membership. You can, right next to the subscribe button, there's a join button for $5 a month. We offer a membership to the channel. With that, we do a once a week members only live stream. So I do a public live stream every week. We do a members only live stream once a week. In addition to that, I do a members only video every week. And there's also a members only Discord. So you do get an awful lot of benefits for only $5. There's probably 50 videos sitting there ready and waiting for you. On top of all of that, mostly it just helps support the channel. We are a super, super small channel. So thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. That's enough said about that. I'm going to end this poll. So will Bitcoin hit 45,000 in 2023? 85% are saying yes. So that's a big, big jump. We are now getting more optimistic. We're at 41,900 at the chart I'm looking at. So, we're knocking on the door. We did get over 42,000 earlier this morning. So today, is another day where we set a new high for the year in the year 2023. We've been doing this day after day after day. So, don't, like somebody talked about earlier, don't be surprised if there's a little bit of a breather in here somewhere. I mean, this has been off to the races. Crypto Fever Tom, can you talk to Anthony Powers about the multiplier effect? That's a good question. Just writing that down. The current supply crunch and just how little buying pressure needs to come in to move the needle by a lot on the Bitcoin price and about the miners. So I will do that. Let me just a second. I'm going to save these questions that you guys have. Okay. Let's see. Barry saying, Tom, can you ask Sue to explain the new terms of the Celsius deal? All right. Welcome to Talking Investing. Let's, I'm going to write that down. Are they not getting $75 million anymore? Okay, so I'll talk about that. I will ask her about that. That's a good one. Thank you very much. We did get Crypto Rich, who's been a member for 2 months, did a member chat. Hi, Tom. Really appreciate the content. Also, go Bills. We still have a believer. I've all but given up hope. Could I put a couple Maracalls I am sitting on in the chat and get your thoughts? Yeah, let me know. Absolutely. And then earlier we were going to look at the CleanSpark 2026 $10 calls as well. So let's do that. Here we are, just so everybody can see. Core Scientific up 73% on the day. I will tell you, I am invested in none of the nano cap stocks. So over the time, I have gotten in and out of those. At the moment, I'm not in any of them. So some of these massive run-ups in the last several days, I have not participated in. But I will not complain. The run-up in my top 3 stocks has been absolutely tremendous. I imagine the same is true for the vast majority of you watching. This has been a spectacular run. But let's just go take a quick look at these CleanSpark options that we said we would take a look at earlier. So CleanSpark's up 15% on the day today. And remember, this is not a nano cap stock. This is the 3rd largest by market cap of all the Bitcoin miners. This has had, well, we're going to take a look at the chart at this in a minute too, because the run that CleanSpark has taken recently is out of this world for a company this size. So, and I know it's still $1.6 billion versus, most of the market. This is still considered a small cap stock. It's at the low end of a small cap stock, but so are all the Bitcoin miners. So let's just go look at real quickly. I'm going to go. So they have now January 2026 options. So for a $10 option, which is, $1.50 out of the money, let's call it. Where's this at? Well, $1.20 out of the money. So this is just out of the money. You're going to pay $5. So the question is, where do you think CleanSpark is going? The way I look at these are, how much am I really saving? I'm out of the money, so I'm $1.20 out of the money. I'm going to lose that $1.20, but I get to buy these for, just around $5 or $5.20 versus $8.84. So that is a discount, but is it enough of a discount, to make it worth it? if I take a look at the 2025s, now this is 1 year less. This is $3.80. Now all of a sudden that's a pretty big spread as a percentage. The question is, if you don't think that we're going to be at the top of the bull market by January of 2025, then these are no good. If you think the bull market maybe is going to peak in April or May of 2025, then you really need to go to the 2026s. But if you think CleanSpark's going to run to 50 or 100, then even if it runs to 50, then for $5 you get to $50. That's a 10x. So, that's how I try to look at these options. And it's a way, you can put less money at risk. It's a higher risk. Options are a higher risk. I don't even care, the leap, even though these are leap options out multiple years, it's still a higher risk than the stock. These are out of the money. So, 100% of the money, unless CleanSpark gets to $10, 100% of your money's gone. Whereas if you buy CleanSpark, if CleanSpark goes from $8.85 to $7, you're going to lose, 30% of your money. Here, you're going to lose 100% of your money. So that's the risk reward you have to look at. I think these are expensive, but it depends on what your price target is, right? I mean, if you think that 50 is a good price target, that's a 10x. So that's, and versus buying the stock outright, you're getting, a 6x. So that's significantly better. So that's the kind of break even you want to find. What's it have to get to for this to pay off for me? So, and I do buy options. I'm a little stingy. And because one of the things that's tough with CleanSpark and Iris Energy is the same way, they have these $2.50 spreads between options. A lot of companies have $1 spreads. Some of the companies have 50-cent spreads. So $2.50 is a lot for a stock that was, this stock was trading in the threes a few months ago. So that's a huge spread for a stock like that. It's starting to make a little more sense, but there's no reason. It would be nice if they would change these to $1. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that CleanSpark leap, super leap option out a couple of years. Let me see. Let's see, Crypto Rich. Let's see if he put those in here. Crypto Fever said the more people get orange pilled, the better. So that's a big part of it. I know there's a lot of people out there trying to explain what's going on and help the world, understand Bitcoin. That's step one. Introduce people to Bitcoin. Let them understand what it is. They're not going to go from zero to investing, but the more every single one of us can spread awareness. Obviously, I have a very small channel, but I try and, that's a part of the purpose of this is to let people know about Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners we focus on, obviously, a lot on this channel. And I think these represent huge opportunities. I think we've had nice run-ups, but, I think there's a lot of room ahead. I want to take a look at a couple of these stocks in specific. So let's get to the 1 day. And this is Bitcoin. I mean, look at this candle. This is insanity. But that's not what I want to look at. If you look at CleanSpark, particularly the last 2 days have just been off the charts. But even prior to that, if you go back, this is November 10th. So that's not 1 month ago. Less than 1 month ago. From here to, we'll go to where we are right now. Not even the high on the day. CleanSpark's up 155% in less than 1 month. So this is a monster run up. I think there's a lot of room left to the upside, but I think this will start to slow down. And, to somebody's point earlier, there may be a buying opportunity in here somewhere. At some point, some pullback would be natural. I mean, there's a gigantic 150% move in 3.5 weeks. Is, that's outrageous. I'll take it. I hope it keeps running, but, I'm sure a lot of people would rather see a little bit of a pullback. Iris Energy is actually having a pullback today. So if you're interested in Iris Energy, this had run up from November 22nd. I mean, that's 12 days ago until we'll go to the peak of today. This was up 120% at the peak of today. It's now pulled back. It's now up about 85%, but that's a vicious run in 2 weeks. But having said that, even intraday today here, from the top to where we are right now, it's a 15% pullback. And from Friday to today, it's a 5% pullback on a day where everything else is super green. George, you were mentioning a theory you had regarding why Iris Energy was in the red today.
No, it's not a theory. It's what happened. They announced they were selling, 1 million shares. I guess the founder and the co-founder or something like that. They both announced, they're selling 2 million shares.
So yes, two of the executives.
So I think.
Go ahead.
I think they were nervous about the halving.
I mean, there's been a giant run up, and I don't know. We would have to dig in and see. Usually, these decisions are made somewhat in advance, but I do know, it a lot of times it shakes retail investors when they see insiders making big sales. So, that hit today. Was that today, George? No.
Friday after hour Friday.
Friday after hours. So today was the first day to trade off of that information. So I don't know. That could be why we've had a big pullback today.
Actually, it's kind of crazy. You wouldn't think that they would with all the news going on, you know what I mean?
If you're waiting for a pullback in Iris Energy, you got one today. I guess that would be my point. On a day where, HUT's down. So now they've fixed this. HUT's down, but, that's special circumstances. They just had a merger take effect today. So there's a little pullback on the merger. So this red has an explanation. So with this aside, the only stock in the red, I'm going to revisit this for those of you who weren't here earlier. This was Friday. Every single Bitcoin miner that I follow, 19 Bitcoin miners. There are a few more than that publicly traded in North America, but these are the 19 that have been on my list forever. Every single one of them was green, and almost every single one of them was double digits green. So Friday was a monstrous green day. And then if we go to today, you're going to see once again, this is a monstrous green day. So almost every single Bitcoin miner is in the green again today. HUT is in the red, but that's an exception. So really, in the last 2 trading days, every single Bitcoin miner has had somewhere between a good, great, or unbelievably good day, except for Iris Energy, which today is down 4.4%. So buying opportunity, sign of things to come, I don't know. There's some other gigantic things going on as to why I think that Bitcoin this run has only just begun, and it has a lot to do with macroeconomics, and we haven't really talked about any of it. So I'm going to put up a poll, and then I want to show you guys something.
7 more likes, we'll get to 2,200. Sorry, 200.
Nice.
I got to go soon, by the way. I figure we're due. What time did we start? Did you start?
1:30. Yeah, we should wrap it up in a bit. Let's get one more poll.
3:30. Anthony Power. You know who that is, Tom?
I do. I'm sitting down with him and recording a video with him tomorrow. So I told everybody while you were gone, if they have any questions, let me know. He was on Friday's live stream. You know Anthony. I mean, we don't know him.
Please discuss with Anthony the miners who farm Bitcoin with cheapest costs.
Okay.
Have you compared the last time Bitcoin was at this price with what the miners were, what the Bitcoin miners were at this price point, or no? Is that irrelevant?
Well, the Bitcoin miners were at much, much higher prices, stock prices, the last time Bitcoin was at this. Let me put it in perspective. With the exception of CleanSpark, no Bitcoin miner is even back to their 2023 high from July. So I'll show you that chart in a minute. So the Bitcoin miners, that's why I'm saying I think there's a lot of room left to the upside for the Bitcoin miners. They're nowhere near their 2023 highs from July, and their 2023 highs from July are nowhere near where they were the last time Bitcoin was at $40,000. So there's still, now, there's a lot of things going in different directions. There's stock dilution, there's growth, there's change in the hash rate. So, but all in, I think that leaves a lot of room to the upside. We just finished a crypto winter, and it was a vicious crypto winter for the cryptocurrency. Statistically, in a lot of ways, this might have been the worst crypto winter ever. And for the Bitcoin miners, this was brutal. Every single Bitcoin miner, all 19 that we follow, were down between 91 and 99% by the bottom of the crypto winter. So it is a long journey back. Let's say on the average down 95%. It's a long road back. You got to go up 100% and then 100% again and then 100% again. I mean, it's a long way back to get to where you were when you're down 95%. So okay, so let's ask this question, and then I'll go to a chart. Will the Fed lower rates in the March 2024 meeting? So this is a gigantic piece of the puzzle, in my opinion, as to why Bitcoin has been running and I think is going to continue to run. This might be the biggest reason, even bigger than the pending Bitcoin ETF. In fact, I believe it's much bigger. I think the future price action of Bitcoin will be bigger when the ETF hits. But I think this price action is based on the fact that we were in a world of rising interest rates, quantitative tightening. The Fed's policy has been absolutely brutal on the equity markets, on cryptocurrencies. It's turned everybody into a risk-off investor. And like it or not, particularly the Bitcoin miners are completely risk-on assets. Bitcoin, for the time being, is a risk-on asset. I know a lot of you feel like it should be a risk-off asset, and I do think when it's mature, like gold, when it reaches where it's going, it will be a risk-off asset. So it's almost a little bit of both right now. It's a weird hybrid situation, but these rising interest rates have really pushed the cryptocurrency world, into submission. Well, now all of a sudden, the Fed has stopped raising rates, but they've had a mantra since they stopped raising rates, and it's been several meetings now. They've said, okay, we're not going to raise rates anymore, but we're going to have to keep them higher for longer. You guys have probably heard that said by Jerome Powell and the Fed and, everybody who's out there speaking, higher for longer. So they're saying, well, we might not need to raise them anymore, but we're going to need to keep them up all year in 2024. So
There's no way.
So here's what the market thinks of higher for longer. I'm going to look at a couple of these. This is the December meeting, which is coming up, imminently. So essentially, the market has decided 99.7% chance they do nothing, a 0.3% chance that they lower rates. So I think the market has come to a final conclusion. Nothing's going to happen in this December meeting, which I agree with. Some people are saying, oh, they might surprise us and lower rates. That would be more than a surprise to me. I would be beyond stunned if they lowered rates in this meeting. There's a higher chance that they would raise rates to me than lower rates, although I think there's next to 0% chance that either of those things would happen. If we go to the January 31st meeting, so the very next meeting, all of a sudden, there's now a 12% chance built in, 12.6% chance built in that the Fed's going to lower interest rates. To put this in perspective, 1 week ago, there was a 10% chance built in that the Fed was going to raise rates at this meeting. So you can see this is a big shift in sentiment, but this is not the big one. Then if we go to the March meeting, which is the one I'm asking about right now, and this is the FedWatch tool. This is the CME FedWatch tool. So this is basically what the futures pricing in, what they think is going to happen. So let me go back here and show you. So 525 to 550, this is no rate hike. If we go here, 525 to 550, no rate hike, 41% chance. Almost 60% chance that they're going to lower interest rates in the March meeting according to the futures tool. And this is basically how the Treasury futures are trading. So based on the price action there, this is the percent chance. So all of a sudden, if we go, you can see, well, this was 25% a month ago, 21% a week ago, and now, yesterday was 55%, today it's 51.5%. But you got to add this, because some people are starting to price in a 50 basis point rate hike in that meeting, or 25%, lowering rates 50 basis points, or lowering them 25 in the previous meeting and 25 again in this meeting. So all of a sudden, this has completely shifted to, there's let's put it this way. The market does not think it's the interest rates are going to be higher for longer. So Jerome Powell's going to say that in every meeting between now and this March meeting. He's going to keep saying higher for longer, but nobody believes him. And whether or not he does it in this meeting or not, what is more important is the sentiment, because that's how the markets trade. And this is why the market is trading. This is why all of a sudden your small cap, high growth stocks are starting to rise. This is why all of a sudden the Russell 2000 is crushing the other indexes. The opposite's been true for 3 full years. So if we look, today is another day. The NASDAQ's down 1.15%. The Russell is up 0.83%. That's a dramatic difference. The S&P 500 is down 0.73%. This has been happening day after day after day, and it's nowhere near caught up. We were risk off for 2.5 or 3 years, and this is flipping. And this all has to do with monetary policy. So, I don't know if they're going to lower rates in that March meeting, but the fact that the market is starting to price it in is what is most important. And I think that's one of the big reasons, because what comes along with lower interest rates, the next thing you get is quantitative easing, or what, a lot of people refer to as the money printers turning back on. So I think all of that's ahead of us in 2024, and that's very bullish for Bitcoin. So, George, to your answer to your question as to why I think Bitcoin's going up, on any given day, I don't know why. Like, why was this weekend a big pump? I don't know. But why are we on this gigantic run? I think this is why, and there's no reason to believe that sentiment is going to change from where it is right now.
Tom, congratulations. 203 likes.
Nice. Very nice.
Quick question. Mike G says, thanks, Tom. Was planning to add more Bitfarms, but notice MIGA, Mawson, jumped over 50% today, eclipsing my #1 holding position. Any idea why? Perhaps they're low outstanding shares, question mark?
I mean, I believe that this is, let me go to a chart. Mawson's down 32% year to date. And to put that in perspective, last week Mawson was up 71%. even with up 71%, year to date, they were still the second worst performing Bitcoin mining stock. In this same period of time, Bitcoin was up 134%. Over the weekend, we got to Bitcoin up 150%. So even with the price action today, Mawson's still not back to zero on the year. So I think that what has happened is that people are starting to think the market had priced failure into Mawson. And, you know, I've been talking for a while. These four stocks in particular, the market had lost faith in and was essentially pricing these to fail. I think that, you know, a lot of the shorts are getting out, and a lot of people are jumping into what's a small cap stock, you know, hoping with this price action on Bitcoin that, you know, if these guys make it, bring up their. So all of this action put together brings them up to a $24 million market cap. To put it in perspective, this was, you know, like a $10 or $12 million market cap company. This had fallen. I'll show you the chart. I mean, I'm going to go to the 1 week to just put this in perspective. Yep, we gotta keep going, keep going. I mean, look at what happened to Mawson. This is their November 2021. So they were even higher than that earlier in the year. But even if I don't use that number, let me get rid of the volume just to give myself a little room to do the math here. This stock from top to bottom, right? If we go down, you know, this was down 99%. So there's an awful lot of room to the upside. When you're down 99%, this is what I'm saying. When you pull a double or a triple or a quadruple, you're still down 95%. So there's a long, long road to the upside. If Mawson's going to end up making it, I mean, even from here to here, from November down to April of 2022, and that's when Bitcoin rallied. I think that was a rally up to 48,000. So that's interesting because I feel like that's the rally we're about to get. So that was down 63%. From here, that would be another 2,000% rally in Mawson. So if people feel like this thing's going to survive, it doesn't have to get back to its all-time high. It doesn't even have to get back here. You know, if they think there's a 500 or 700% run left ahead, I think people are starting to make that bet on Mawson. I wouldn't mind if the members picked this as a deep dive video. I think this would be an interesting one to take a look at. So that's my opinion of what's going on here. Like I said, these stocks, and there's a big difference between down 91% and down 99%. That's being cut in half again and then again. So, you know, at down 90%, if you go down 50% from there and then down 50% from there, that gets you to 90, I think 97.5% down. So, I mean, you can see these are drastic. 99%. There's very few companies that go down 99% and survive. Now, this is a unique situation. We're looking at 19 companies where all of these companies got decimated. And there are several of these companies that were down 91 or 95%, or maybe even one or two of the ones down 98 or 99% are going to survive. That's exceptionally rare in the stock market. But it presents rare opportunities. I mean, if this thing, let's say you have faith in this and you want to hold this for 5 years because you think it's going to get back to its all-time high. That's a 5,800% move from here. So, you know, that's a 58x. There's not a lot of those out in the market. I don't think this is going to happen, but some people may believe this, even if they think half of this is going to happen. So that's the opportunities that are left out there. Even though it seems like we've had the monster run and, oh, you know, maybe I missed it. To me, we're still really, really early on all of these stocks. Well, That's not fair. On the ones that are going to survive. So I have said, and I still feel there will be winners and losers. Now, the losers to me is defined in a few different ways. That doesn't mean they're going to go out of business. A couple of different things could happen. They could get acquired, which might be okay for shareholders. They could get acquired and shareholders could get a double on their stock just on an acquisition. So, there's other things than just going out of business. Or, they could survive but just kind of meander along. So, there's a lot of different scenarios.
Hello from Brazil. You got a comment on Stronghold, Tom? What's your comment on Stronghold?
My comment on Stronghold, it is and remains, I love what that company does. We've talked about Stronghold a bunch. I think we did a deep dive for the members. I know we did. I don't know how they thrive as a business, even if they survive. Their balance sheet is not good. I think out of all the Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, they are the number one candidate for a buyout or a takeover, because they do have an underlying business. They have a lot of valuable assets. They're doing something that no one else in the world is doing. So it's extremely environmentally friendly, and I mean in the real way. Like, they're cleaning up toxic waste. They're not buying carbon credits. They're actually cleaning the environment. And as a byproduct of that, their concept was, well, with that waste, we can create energy and mine Bitcoin. So I love the company. I don't know what their future holds. I don't own any of that stock.
You did.
I got in and out of the company. They had the crypto winter decimated them. They had to give back a lot of the machines that they owned. Their entire equation changed dramatically when that happened. So, I'm not sure where they go, but I do think, they will survive in one form or another. Somebody's going to keep doing what they're doing there. It makes all the sense in the world. I just don't know if it's going to be them. I hope so. If Bitcoin has a big run, they could turn the corner. If they've already restructured all their debt. I think they might need to do that again to keep going, but we'll see. Or maybe somebody buys them out. And at the price that they're at, somebody could buy them at a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5x, and it would still be, possibly a good deal. Let's just take a look at their market cap.
Mike says, I love this host.
Which host?
You. Says, contribute to my, you, Tom.
Oh,
I'm going to contribute my success to this channel, but I'm a little crazy. Riot's my only play at the moment.
Stronghold is now a $48 million market cap. So, and they're up 17% today. I think they were up 28 or 32% on Friday. So they've taken a nice little run. But even with all that, they're only a $48 million market cap. So, if somebody decided it was worth $150 million to buy them out, I don't know. I don't know what to say. This is a favorite on the channel. I think both George and myself have a soft spot for this company, but having said that, I'm not invested in them.
I have a soft spot for him, but I don't know if I'd invest in him.
So we're...
And it started many, many, many months ago.
What?
No, the reason why I wouldn't invest with it started many, many months ago. It's hard to run a business. People forget that this is bottom line. You're running a business.
Right.
Remember, everybody thought miners, they were just giving gobs and gobs of money to Marathon and Riot way back when. And that's why, people can not atone for their sins, so to speak.
There's a lot more obstacles to successfully running a Bitcoin mining operation than everybody thought, especially to scale at these huge, huge operations, right? This is not like owning 2 or 10 or 50 or 100 Bitcoin miners. When you own 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 Bitcoin miners. I mean, you're running at a scale that's monumental. Now, if you've done things the right way, you're going to benefit from that scale. But getting there was presented a lot of obstacles for a lot of these companies. Certain companies, it cost them, a year in the middle to get where they're going versus where they thought. Other companies never got where they were going because, the debt ran them over. They had to restructure their debt. Several of these companies restructured their debt and gave back some or all of their Bitcoin miners. Those are the companies that, to me, I'm just not sure how they get, have a bright future ahead, even if they make it. By the way, there's two companies that are just going. Go ahead.
No, you go.
There's two companies that are going ballistic today. Core Scientific is up 80% and Mawson is up just under 60% right now on the day today. On the larger Bitcoin miners, CleanSpark is up 17%, and the two big miners, Marathon and Riot, are both up just under 9%. TeraWolf's up 13%. Argo Blockchain's up 27%. Stronghold 18%. Any is up almost 29%. So, I mean, we're getting monster moves. I hope that, I hope you guys are all over these numbers. Some are lagging behind. We do have two in the red. HUT is merger day today. They're down 8.3%. To be fair, they were at one point down 15%, so they're rallying from there. Iris Energy is the only other miner in the red, down 4%. Cipher is only up 3% today. They have been lagging lately. DigiHost is only up 7%. Grease up 6.5%. Oh, Bitfarms is up only 6.5%. So that's a slow day for Bitfarms. On what started out, they were up over 20% earlier today. So big pullback, a lot of profit taking from Bitfarms, which seems premature if you look at their chart.
Question. At this point, Midway says, at this point, I think Bitfarms around 170. Is it a safer buy than CleanSpark at $9? Both should do great, though, if Bitcoin keeps heading higher in the next several months. He wants to know do you think is going to be the biggest? Who's going to double quicker?
My answer to that would be, obviously, I can't tell you what to do, not financial advice. What I can tell you is I did not buy any CleanSpark today. I didn't sell any. So, this has been a vicious run up. I haven't sold any. I did buy some Bitfarms options today, because the run up in Bitfarms from the bottom to the top, and it's bounced off of, somewhere around $1 so many times here, going all the way back, to April of 2023, as recently as late November. So just, a week and a half ago. But since then, from the bottom to the top of today, this was a 93% run, but you can see they have pulled way back. They're up 73% in a very short period of time. But if we look at this, the other way I'm trying to look at all of these, and Clive Chang, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated. The other way I'm looking at these Bitcoin miners is, if you take from where they are right now, they're still 22.5% away from their highs in July. So they're not even at their high for 2023. So I think there's a lot of room left to the upside for Bitfarms, who had a fundamentally business-changing announcement last week. So, I don't think that's priced in at all at this point. I think the market, raced up a little bit. This profit taking today, this pullback today, I'm a little bit mystified. I'm surprised people are jumping out this early. Maybe they're right and I'm wrong, but I have a pretty high conviction in Bitfarms. I'm just going to pull this up because you're going to see. So 64,000 shares traded today versus under 10 million on the average. So super high volume. It was really high volume this morning. I don't know what happened here. I'm a buyer on this. I bought some options, short-term options, January 2024 options. So again, I'm not telling you to buy those. This is not financial advice, particularly short-term options. That short-term is very high risk options. So I would never recommend anybody do that. You know, I do small amounts of some of these kind of things when I see a setup that I think makes sense, but still high risk versus just buying and owning, which is the vast majority of what I do personally. So yeah, I think for me, Bitfarms is in a buy zone. That's my personal opinion. I'm looking at Bitfarms. I'm looking at Hut 8, even though Bitfarms is one of my biggest positions. I think that with the press release that they had, what they're doing to their business, and they've got the personnel to do it. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, there's a big difference between making an announcement and implementing that, but their chief mining officer is, in my opinion, you know, the best of the best out there, and they've done nothing but operate at a very high level, in my opinion, for the last several years. So I see no reason to believe they're going to do anything other than what they said they were going to do operationally. And if they do, you know, just so that you guys know, essentially, quickly in a nutshell, they're talking about getting from 6 exahash to 12 exahash, and then in early 2022, and then from 12 to 17, with the possibility to get to 20, but really 17 is what they're targeting. In addition to that, they're going to swap out almost every single Bitcoin miner in their fleet. So with machines that are significantly more energy efficient. So they're going to become a much more energy efficient company. They're going to more than double, if not triple, their exahash. This is all in the next 12 months. So that's a very tall order, but and they may miss it, as we see with CleanSpark. They're going to miss their mark by a month or two. Big deal. I know that people don't like that. And what you do worry about is 1 month turns into 2 months, 2 months turns into 3 months, and all of a sudden it's a year later. CleanSpark hit most of their marks, so I think that, I believe them that they're maybe 1 or 2 months behind. And Bitfarms, is hitting when they set their goals, they tend to hit them. So, would it surprise me if they're 1 or 2 or 3 months behind? There's outside variables that sometimes make that happen, but in general, if they get where they're going, that's a transformational situation, in my opinion. So I think this stock is, in my opinion, I think it's priced very low. So a lot of upside left there, in my personal opinion. I think there's a lot of upside left in CleanSpark, but, with this is the weekly. Let me go to the daily, because a lot of these older numbers, I caution people to go back 2 or 3 years, because these numbers are almost not meaningful in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. But with CleanSpark,
I'm looking this up as you speak, just so you know. Sorry, Tom.
That's okay. With CleanSpark, even though I'm very bullish and I think there's a lot of room to the upside, you can see they are the one company out of all the Bitcoin miners that I follow. This was their high for the year in 2023. They have now taken out that high for the year. So counting today, they're up 18%. Most of the rest of the Bitcoin miners are down 20 or 30 or 40 or 50% just off of their highs from this year. So in that regard, CleanSpark, is kind of out ahead. Clive, thank you very much for the super chat. Clive said, thoughts? The market is working against Hut today. I think this is extremely natural. I think the price action on Hut is natural. I think that I was expecting a lot more. This was a merger of equals, so overnight the market cap of Hut doubled. I think it's only natural that there's a pullback on an event like that. So I was looking for a much bigger pullback than this. And and I was hoping maybe to buy into this today. So I did not make that purchase today. We'll see what happens in the coming days and weeks. But I don't, to me, the fact that they're down 8% today that's not scary to me. It's not surprising. They were down 15% earlier. That's getting closer to, I thought over the course of a week, they could have a 20 or 25% pullback. And I thought that would be a big buying opportunity, in my opinion. I don't know that we're going to get that now, mainly because Bitcoin's on such a tear. This could be, this could be all we get. This could be the buying opportunity right here for all I know. All right. All right, George, it's 3:38. You got any other
I'm wondering
thoughts?
if we should close out. Now I'm wondering if we should close out the market.
You want to close out the market? Or I mean, we can.
It's only a few more minutes.
It's a few minutes away.
$9 CleanSpark.
I got a CleanSpark video I want to get posted, which I cannot do until this live stream ends.
Uh-oh.
So that I worked massively on. So please, everybody, if you're interested, check back in it takes about a half hour to get it up and running from the time I start. So, but the video's done. It's edited. It's ready to go. What?
Is there anything that you would be nervous about anymore for Bitcoin? Or are we pretty much in a good spot now?
To me, it would have to be something outside of the realm of Bitcoin. If world events dictate that negative things happen in the market, then, Bitcoin is not immune to that, as we saw the last time, a massive global event happened back in March of 2020. So, those things you can never predict. But to me, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. And I will reiterate, nothing goes in a straight line. We have been off to the races. I think we skipped an entire retest. It's very normal as we run up to have big run-ups, and then you go down and retest a number and create it as support and then move up from there. We've done none of that. We've just been going up and then up some more and then up some more. So at some point, I do think we'll have, even if it's only a 5 or 10% pullback, I do think we'll have some pullback where we retest and find some support. The other possibility would be that we don't find support, and then, who knows? But I don't see that. With everything going on, I feel the opposite is more likely. I think, if we do have a retest, I think it's, for me, it is going to be a buying opportunity. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. But if we have a pullback in the market, if Bitcoin pulls back, I'll be buying. Lee, thank you very much for the super chat. Lee, $Jesus coin. Jesus is rising. Bless once again. Much love. Prayers, peace, love, happiness, etc. Thank you very much, Lee, for the sentiments. Very thoughtful. Thank you very much for the super chat. And George, you did look this up. There is a Jesus coin. Is that true?
Yes, there is a Jesus coin.
So
there's like 4 or 5 Jesus coins. So I don't. Yeah, I would imagine it's this. Well, it seems like only one's active. It's not. It's like a 55K market cap. I mean, is what's trading volume, but it has 777 trillion coins.
Trillion. Wow.
Yes. So it's right now. It's up today. It's up 1.72. 7 days up almost 50%.
50.
Yeah, in 30 days it's up 387%. Market cap is $239 million.
Which sounds like a lot, but that is a tiny, tiny market cap. So, some of those do have those massive, massive runs. Sourmelon Gaming said ETFs in 36 days, halving in April. Bitcoin set to roll the next several months. I am with you, Sourmelon Gaming. I agree with all that. Yes, there might be a pullback in the middle where we retest and find some support, but I feel like what you just said is true. And add to that the fact that it seems to me the market does not believe Jerome Powell. They feel like there's going to be some lowering of interest rates. I personally think there's going to be some quantitative easing and some money getting back into the market. The Fed has been, sucking money out of the market. So I think they're going to start putting money back in, and obviously more money to invest. So I think everything's lining up. So yeah, could we get a whammy? And a lot of times in these bullish moments, we do have a head fake, right? We have what seems like all of a sudden a reversal. So, watch out for those. Barry's saying maybe
Michael,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, Michael, I looked this BKKT Holdings up. I don't know anything about them, but I'll look into it for you. I'll go knock on their door. They look like they're an exchange.
I will look that up only because Michael is asking, and I know Michael has been on the channel for a long time. He's been following and watching. I will tell you I have not looked into them deeply because I know there's a lot of people. I don't know this, but I assume based on the random people that have never been here before and never since, there's a lot of random people pushing whatever BKKT is that I don't know if they're paid or whatever the case may be. So for that reason, I haven't really looked into it. But I know, Michael, you've been with us a while. So, if you're asking, I'll try and see what's going on. I know I've glanced at it a couple of times, but I really paid so little attention. I don't even remember what the deal is. So I'll check it out. I mean, we can quickly just look right now. But I don't know if this is something that people are just pumping, because I do in my comments section, like people that I know, I read all the comments. It's harder and harder for me to respond to all of them, but I read all the comments. So I know who's on the channel and who's not on the channel. So when I see a random person who's only ever made one comment and it's BKKT, and then there's 7 different people like that, then it makes me think like, these aren't real comments necessarily. This is a $187 million market cap. I'll just give the quick overview. That offers a platform for crypto and redeeming loyalty points. The company's institutional grade technology platform offers various solutions. So I will tell you right off the bat, I'm this far in and I already don't love what I see. I don't want to make a snap judgment. I just,
it gets worse, by the way.
Okay, so
I went in a few pages and I was, are you kidding me?
So I don't know. It could very well be that there's just a lot of people out there that are pumping this, whether they're paid to do so or not, I can't speak to. But and I'll forget this again and somebody will ask me again. But every time I get a little bit into this, I go, this is not in my wheelhouse at a minimum, and I don't necessarily like what I see. So I don't know. Not financial advice. You could see that was far from a deep dive. It wasn't even really a shallow dive. So that's my knee-jerk reaction. Saeed said people who are pushing BKKT have been saying because there's an exchange, they will have some spot ETFs on their exchange.
Oh.
Well, maybe that could be.
That'd be interesting.
We have somebody asking, what's Bitcoin? Speaking of what's Bitcoin, okay, 41,800. So we're ending the day near the highs of the day. It doesn't look like we're going to end over 42,000, but it looked like while we were here, what did we get up to? 42,051 we got up to during the stream. The high of the day and the high of the year was 42,159. So we've taken out 42,000, another big step along the way on our journey here. Will Fed lower the rates in March? To finalize this poll, somebody must have unvoted it. There we go, 100 votes. 59% yes, 41% no. So almost 60%. This is very similar to what the FedWatch tool was. So, that seems to be lining up. About 60% think we're gonna get a rate hike, maybe in the first quarter of a rate decrease the first quarter of 2024. So whether or not that happens, just the fact that that's now turning into conventional wisdom is very bullish for the market. It's very bullish for Bitcoin, in my opinion. So I'm looking for the rally to continue. So those are my parting thoughts. What do you got, George?
This guy's from Australia. The guy who's the president of that, it was called Bake? I don't know.
Well, isn't Iris Energy also in Australia, or am I
Yeah,
thinking
I
the wrong?
know. I was thinking that they could be related.
I don't know
my
how to
my
pronounce this.
I'm going to say congratulations to everybody who stayed in Bitcoin and the miners, and you, Tom, of course. I have my big toe in it, maybe a little bit of my second toe, but I don't nearly have what you have in. I have always thought there would be a pullback, but that pullback has never happened.
But to your credit, you dollar
And
cost averaged in,
oh
even
yeah,
with that line of
I've been
reasoning.
I've been since wow, I guess it was the first week of November. I've been putting in a steady amount of money every single week, and I don't have as much as I want, but tomorrow is another day, and I think that I just think there's too many catalysts right now on Bitcoin to be afraid now. You know what I mean? Like over Thanksgiving, I was afraid that they might approve the ETF, and that's when I really got really serious about putting my position
You were afraid
directly
to the
into
other
Bitcoin.
side. You were afraid
Yeah,
that you'd miss the run if they did
because
that.
here's the deal, what crypto is going to do is going to change my life, and it can do that for anybody. And I put enough into crypto now that it is astronomical how much money I was I've put in now, and it's just now it's just a waiting game. So this is another one. How many millionaires will have just one Bitcoin?
Right?
Very few,
There's only 21 million Bitcoin, and there
right?
won't be 21 million people that own one. I'd be surprised if, when it's all said and done with, there won't. I don't think there'll be 1 million people that own more than one Bitcoin in the world.
And so that's the reason why I kind of shifted directly into Bitcoin instead of out of the miners, because I was getting so aggravated having them go up and down, left and right. It just, to me, that's aggravating. The next was I just, you see, like what they did to CleanSpark. Tom said this to me. He goes, "You don't understand. When it's on, it's on." And that's a great example. Is to watch CleanSpark be $4 just the other 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, Tom.
Yeah, it was. It
And
was within the last month that was trading with a 3 handle.
yeah,
Now it's almost nine
it's
dollars. It was over nine at
$9.
one point
Yeah,
today.
and I mean you see that, and it's amazing to watch it take off. It's just, you know, my thing is to tell everybody, because I honestly think the fiat dollar in the United States is in serious trouble, and I think that we're going to have some more upside to Bitcoin. Not financial advice, obviously.
And I think that what you just said is the long-term thesis for Bitcoin. Fiat currencies continue, to be inflationary and lose their value, and Bitcoin really is the opposite. So, all right, we end with Core Scientific up over 83%, Mawson up over 55%, Argo Blockchain up almost 30% of the big Bitcoin miners. CleanSpark's up about 17%, leading the way. So lots of massive action again today, coming off of what was a gigantic Friday. So a recovery here at the end of the day. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you, George. Thank you to all of our members in specific, all the subscribers, and to everybody that joined us on the stream today. I hope you guys are making a lot of money. As we break records, we may do this again, right, George? If there's something exciting happening that's worth talking about, we'll jump on. Otherwise, we have a members-only live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. We have a live stream for everybody in the world every Friday. I will be putting out a video talking with Anthony Powers this week and another video talking with Sue Ennis from Hut 8 about the merger. So that's what's coming up this week. Thanks again, everybody. Anything else, George, or are we all good?
No. Merry Christmas. See you guys.
All right, everybody have a great night.
See you tomorrow, members.